lendingclub.com/sports, lendingclub.com/sports, loans made by WebBank, member FDIC, high interest debt, credit cards. Clean those babies up. You don't want to have that stuff going on. Doug Gottlieb later this hour. Albert Breer top of next hour with the herd hierarchy. We have a team that's entering the herd hierarchy that I love. Last week, my staff forced me to put Miami in. Outrageous. I no longer take their recommendations.
I was not consulted.
You were not. This week, my staff pushed back, and I'm jamming a team in there that is going to be on that list, herd hierarchy, for a decade. Everybody's looking at me. Let me say this. Some things you could say, but they're hard to do, like having patience, working out, eating right? Like those are hard to do. Everybody says they're going to eat right. It's hard to eat right. I had just a big plate of nachos last night. I didn't want to do that. It was right in front of me, and the cheese was melting, and my son had it, and I had to have some. And then working out. I feel like working out every day. Some days I get up, I don't want to work out. Patience is hard. Got to have patience. Got to have patience. Pittsburgh, three head coaches since 1969. Cleveland Browns, 3 head coaches in 4 years. They got the way to do it in their own division, but it's hard to be patient. And with Le'Veon Bell right now, Pittsburgh's in last place. I'm hearing a lot of this. Pittsburgh, you got to get going. You got to get going, Pittsburgh, on Le'Veon Bell. You're in last place. Pittsburgh's really, really good at the patience thing. A lot of you wanted Chuck Noll fired at the end. You wanted Bill Cowher at the end. You got tired of him. Mike Tomlin, everybody wants out the door right now. Pittsburgh is very, very good at not only saying we can be patient, but being patient. And everybody's banging on the Steelers. But let me just say this. The Rams, and this is what I hear people say, well, Rams took care of Todd Gurley. Arizona took care of David Johnson. And the Atlanta Falcons took care of Devontae Freeman. Well, yeah, but those guys didn't have 2 failed drug tests and get busted in a car for drug use. Think about it this way. Every player has a Carfax report. This is the simplest way to think about it. Every player has a Carfax report. Le'Veon Bell's has 2 accidents, and a transmission's been swapped out. And that affects what people are going to pay for the car. And now you got James Conner. You're leasing James Conner, and he gets you to and from work. You may not have heated seats, but you're not running into telephone poles either. The Steelers do not trust Le'Veon Bell. And the Steelers have a right not to trust Le'Veon Bell. And the Steelers have a history of being really, really patient. In 2015 and 2016, both years, Le'Veon Bell started the year suspended. This is not a Todd Gurley situation. Todd Gurley has a completely trustable personality with nothing on his Carfax report. And Devontae Freeman. And Le'Veon Bell's a really talented kid. But they're not in the wrong here. What they're basically saying is, we'll give you a deal, but we have a history here of being patient. We'll wait it out. Now, there's a report this morning that Le'Veon Bell's going to report, the bye week, week 7, week 8. All right. But if you want to play with the Pittsburgh Steelers and you're going to try to force their hand, they win always. They do. Cleveland, 3 coaches, 4 years. Pittsburgh, 3 since 1969. They don't listen to the noise. They don't feel the pressure. They're the opposite of a low self-esteem sports program. They're the opposite of the Clippers or the Mets or the Jets. Like the Steelers, they got all sorts of trophies and rings. They're in no hot rush. They're in no hurry. So, and the division is not running away from the Steelers. Baltimore's good. They're not perfect. Cincinnati's interesting, but they're Cincinnati. In Cleveland, they're probably a year away. Baker another 10, 15 starts from really clicking. They already gave away a game this weekend against Oakland. So let's add context to Le'Veon Bell and people freaking out. If you think the Steelers are going to fold on this, you picked the wrong organization, man. Because they say they're patient, and they got 50 years of showing you they're patient. And that Carfax report for Le'Veon Bell's got all sorts of dings on it and accidents on it and swap transmissions on it. And that goes a long way in you deciding what you're going to pay for a car. Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is
the Herdline News.
All right, sticking with Le'Veon Bell, according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, Bell plans to report to the Steelers during their Week 7 bye.
Yeah.
But that's not all. Bell also told Fowler that he still wants to retire as a Steeler and believes that the team will renegotiate with him in the offseason. He said, I could be naive or hopeful, but at the end of the day, I feel like that's what's going to happen. I don't think they really want me gone. That could be me being prideful, but I'm still holding out hope. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But I will say this. Since he's been gone, you were talking about them not running into a telephone pole getting to and from work.
Yeah.
Well, they did that Week 1 because they had 35 rushes for 159 yards and 2 touchdowns. But since then, they've had 15.3 rushes per game, 43.3 rushes per game, rush yards per game, and less than a touchdown, 0.7.
Yeah.
So it's got quite the drop-off since Week 1 as far as their rushing game goes. So he's looking better and better week by week, but I don't know that the situation is fixable. Now, he could have waited until Week 10 and still gotten credit for the year and still become a free agent, but he wouldn't have played any games. If he comes back Week 7, if he signs any time prior to November 13th, the Steelers will either have to tag him a third time at a very high price tag or let him go into free agency for next year.
Steelers probably wouldn't mind tagging him. Steelers don't mind paying him one-off. They just don't want to get into a marriage with a guy that's more of somebody you date.
Well, then if they do that again, they could run into the risk of him holding out again.
Yeah.
So at some point, the situation has to get agreed upon.
Listen, players have to figure this out. Generally, owners and teams win. Now, LeBron can sign a one-year deal because he's LeBron, but overwhelmingly in the history of sports.
Basketball is so different, though.
Yeah.
It's very hard to compare the situation.
But in football,
basketball.
let's just go to football.
Yeah.
The owners win. They win in negotiations. They win in holdouts. The owners overwhelmingly win. The only time it's different is if, you do get into certain situations like at quarterback where a team feels like Aaron Rodgers. We're not going to get better on the market. Let's pay him.
Or Odell. You say Odell won.
Yes, Odell won because, again, their quarterback's kind of a mess, and they weren't willing to draft another quarterback because they'd tick off Eli Manning and the Manning family. But by and large, players don't win. And when you're going up against the Steelers and that family and that history, you want to push the envelope. Good luck, because they don't fold much.
I just don't see how he's a Steeler next year. So the Super Bowl champion Eagles are a surprise 2-2 right now, and 3 of their next 4 games are against playoff teams, starting this Sunday against the Vikings in an NFC championship rematch. But instead of panicking, Doug Peterson says the Eagles need to play with a greater sense of urgency moving forward.
Our understanding that for us to play like champions, first of all, we have to understand that we are champions, and you have to play. You're expected to play a certain way. The sense of urgency from players and coaches needs to sort of heighten just a little bit. It's not a panic mode, but it's a heightened awareness of who we are as a football team.
Nobody cares if you're champions.
Listen, this was the most predictable thing in the NFL. Philly's a puff your chest town, and they're puffing their chest, and they're writing books, and they're having parades, and they're trash talking. It's like Philadelphia. You're now the number one target for everybody in the NFC. And you went from being, the old cliche, the hunter to the hunted. And right now, nothing's particularly good. Their secondary's a mess. Now, I do think they'll turn it around because I do think this is a lot about injuries, Carson Wentz inactivity, getting players back. I think they'll turn it around in about 2 weeks, not this week.
They have not yet scored 25 points.
No. Listen, they don't look good. And you look at it, they just don't. But it was so predictable.
It's very hard to repeat. Anytime anyone, if it's not the Patriots, goes and wins a championship, it's like, for the next 10 years, this will be the dynasty.
Yeah.
Let them get back to the Super Bowl first. Like we did this with the Seahawks. Look what happened with the Seahawks. It's a lot that goes into it.
Yep.
Even if you have the exact same team, the exact same personnel, it's virtually impossible.
Philadelphia and Seattle are very similar. Got real chatty, real pompous, big personalities, often on defense. It's the same thing. Seattle and Philly. I made these comparisons 6 months ago. The fall. And by the way, we got Carson Wentz. Well, they have Russell Wilson. Well, we got Doug Peterson. Well, they got Pete Carroll. You can have the coach and the quarterback. If the culture changes in the room where it gets real chatty and real cocky and everybody's writing books and everybody has parades, doesn't matter if you have Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz, there will be a significant fall off.
I'm not saying they're done. I'm just saying this is not a surprise start to the season for them. Finally, Tom Brady got his buddy back on Monday since Julian Edelman has returned from his 4-game suspension. Edelman won't have to wait much longer for his season debut either because the Patriots host the Colts on Thursday Night Football. But that doesn't mean the Patriots are getting a lesser version of Edelman when he returns to action on Thursday night, at least according to Brady.
You know, he hasn't changed a bit. 4 weeks off, he looks good. I think everyone's excited to have him back, and anytime you add great players, it's going to help what we're doing. And, you know, we all welcome him back, and he's excited, ready to go. And hopefully he can go out and play great. Hopefully we can all go play great. He gets open so quick. I think that's the thing about Julian, his explosiveness in the routes, in and out of breaks. It's very comforting for a quarterback to see a guy get open really early in a route. Played so much football together. You know, I really have no doubt where he's going to be at, what he's capable of. He's been a great player for our team.
Yeah, so the Patriots, I think, are going to be in good shape again. I know it's shocking,
but to me, they'll still have limitations unless Josh Gordon does something. If Josh kind of
right
pops
now, this is the moment, though.
Yes.
If Josh Gordon can do something and Julian Edelman is back and they need him, Brady hasn't thrown for 300 yards in an outing yet, and the Patriots' offense is 22nd in the league in passing yards per game right now. So having Julian Edelman back is huge. It's just, is Julian Edelman in shape? Because he hasn't practiced with the team since training camp, and he hasn't been in a meaningful football game since the Super Bowl. So Brady seems confident in him. Obviously, Brady's not going to go out and be like, yeah, he looks terrible and slow, but they have a certain chemistry. So if he is back to his form, then
it's almost like getting a starting pitcher back. Your ace then can go to the 2, your 2 goes to a 3, your 3 goes to a 4. With Edelman back and Gronk healthy, now I just need Philip Dorsett to make 2 nice catches a game, Patterson to make 2, Gordon to make 2 or 3.
And it's probably just a comfort thing with Tom.
Yes. But once I get my guy back, then Gronk moves to a 2, Edelman's a 1, and all I need, when you're asking Chris Hogan and Dorsett to give you 7 catches, then you're in trouble. Edelman comes back, I got James White, Edelman, Gronk, and everybody else can give me 2 to 3, then you're fine. They still don't have a pass rusher. Their issues are not solved, but it helps.
But they're still a Patriots, though.
Yeah. Joy Taylor with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Live.
So one of the big stories over the weekend was Earl Thomas, great player, flipped off the Seattle Seahawks sideline. And